Hello, Crash Course gamers. One of the more cool looking tricks in the game that's even doable in current patch actually belongs to this map, and it's one of the most difficult and very optional tricks in the game. Yet no one currently has a tutorial on it that I know of, so this will be a quick to the point video on how to do it. Firstly, to do this trick, you need adrenaline, which I'll go over the spawns of momentarily, and a fuck ton of patience. And I really cannot stress it enough. If you feel like doing this, you need to understand why you feel like doing it. Because you only need to do this if you're going for a top 3 time, maybe top 4 when I submit my time. This is one of the few ILs where Vogeltech is currently not number 1, in fact he's number 3, if that helps you understand how CBT does get a top 3 placement in this map. If you just want to do it for whatever reason, that on the other hand is fairly understandable in the boat I found myself in. That being said, it is pretty fun once you start getting it. In order to do this trick, I would also recommend that you type 2 things in console. Firstly, you're going to want to load into the map by using the command map c9m1_alleys, and then you'll want to write this in as soon as you get in what's on the screen right now. I'll also have it in the description. I also recommend that you create a bind on any key, mine is personally I that does this. This will just kill you, and then you'll respawn, and then it'll take you to the turret, and then it'll give you an adrenaline. This saves you a lot of time that you'd normally have to use to no-clip. So firstly, the adrenaline can be in a few different locations that are very easy to check while running. It can be in any of these corners that I'm shooting at in this video, and you should glance at them right after you go up the stairs. Boom barrels can also be in these spots conveniently. Same goes for the next spot, which is right after the green little train crash. It can be in any of these spots, and it's very easy to check, and rarely any amount of real-time loss. After this little room, the only place that you can get adrenaline is actually in the building near the howitzer. It's a huge time sink that hopefully you don't need to do, but you might choose to. It can be in a few of these spots as well, and again, boomer barrels can also actually be here. Now that the preliminaries are finally out of the fucking way, we can get to on how to actually do the trick. While recording this footage, I had my keyboard inputs on. So firstly, when you try to mimic this trick, I implore you to look closely at those inputs. Also pay attention to what I say in the video though, because there is one thing I do wrong. There are 2 ways to do this trick. There's the Freiberger method and the traditional method. The Freiberger method, in my opinion, is far easier and consistent than the traditional method, so we'll be going over that and briefly mentioning the traditional method afterwards. The steps are quite complicated to understand, and even if you know and have done the trick several times, you will still fuck it up. I almost always fuck it up in runs, it's why it's so CBT to do, etc, etc. Right. So you'll have to practice it, but what you do is you firstly use your adrenaline, then you get behind and a little bit to the right of the turret, you look right below the ammo pile, you move back by holding S and S only, you should not hold A. You should sort of be moving backwards, angled towards the railing. Jump crouch as late as possible and make sure that you hold space for just a little bit afterwards, essentially as long as I do in the example clip. Pressing A towards the very end isn't the end of the world, as a matter of fact, this is what I was talking about earlier. I accidentally do it in this clip, but pressing it will almost always suck it up, so do not do it. Once you're holding onto the turret, look under the manhole cover. This isn't the most precise angle in the world by any stretch of the imagination, but too high upward and you're likely to hit the rock, too far leftward you're likely to fly straight through the bridge, too far rightward you'll either hit the rock or miss the area entirely. While you are adjusting your angle, you will be falling onto the railing. During this fall, you should be holding absolutely nothing at all. Again, in the video I'm holding A, do not do that, I don't know why it worked. As soon as you hit the railing, you should press E, and hold space, and A, all at about the same time. You're holding A just to ensure that you don't hit the rock after you actually get released. E should be released very slightly earlier than space, but this is unreasonable to do intentionally, so in practice you're just going to be releasing all of them at the same time. Do not hold A the entire time you're on the turret. Again, I do it in this clip, but it was very lucky it worked out. You'll likely be flown straight into the trees on your right if you do it the entire time. And then, lastly, after you're actually in the air being propelled forward, you need to angle yourself towards the door and strafe towards it too. Beware that specials can actually still spawn near the safe room, and occasionally there's even a tank directly in front of the door. But otherwise, you've done the trick, and you're pretty much done with map 1. Congratulations. Then, there's the traditional method that I was talking about earlier. The main strength of this method is that you only have to look in one spot the entire time, but in my experience, you will almost always hit the rock compared to the Freiberger method, where it's actually very rare. I generally only fail the Freiberger method if I didn't go back far enough or I mess up the inputs, which are also issues in the traditional method anyways. The only difference between the traditional and Freiberger method is that you'll be looking toward the left of the rock like in this clip, and you do not need to adjust your angle even after grabbing onto the turret. You will still have to adjust your angle towards the door after clearing the rock, however. You're still trying to strafe in that same area. And that's essentially it. That's how you do the trick. You will... I know I sound like a broken record here, but you will need to practice it over and over and over again and get good at it, and that's okay. It took me like 40 minutes to do it even once initially, and actually it took me like an hour, but I was trying to figure out my own method. Did not succeed. But anyway, after I got it the first time, I got more and more consistent afterward. I still fail it more often than not. There's not a single player who's fully consistent at it. But regardless, it's a very handy little trick, and it can be fun to do in runs. Good luck and have fun.